Bitcoin is outperforming tech stocks. Find out why. Welcome to the Daily Forkast, February 15th, 2022. I'm Angie Lau, Editor-in-Chief of Forkast, covering all things blockchain. Well, some say Bitcoin is becoming just another tech stock, but its recent market performance might just have investors thinking, maybe not so fast. We're going to take a look at that story and a whole lot more coming up. Let's get you up to speed from Asia to the world.
Join thousands of NFT traders who already start their day on CryptoSlam.
Well, let's kick off with what's happening around Asia today. First up, in Hong Kong, its internet security watchdog says NFTs and the Metaverse are a must-watch security threat this year. Sound familiar? China. The government-run Computer Emergency Response Team Coordination Center says information security for NFT and Metaverse-related networks is a key risk due to the huge volume of transactions and data exchanged. Its report goes on to warn that criminals may try stealing sensitive user information as the value of cryptocurrencies grow. The agency's concerns were raised as Hong Kong experiences a boom in both the NFT and Metaverse industries, with traditional auction house Philips launching a Valentine's NFT sale just this week. But it also toes the China party line on NFTs, and it makes one wonder when those policies might converge. Meanwhile, over in Singapore, DBS, the largest bank in Southeast Asia, wants to launch a retail digital assets trading desk by the end of the year. The move, announced by CEO Piyush Gupta, follows the bank's current DBS digital exchange, or DDEX, that brought in almost $600 million in trading value in the last quarter. Now, DDEX is currently a members-only exchange serving corporate, institutional, and accredited investors, as well as family offices. And now the bank says it plans to open up its business to a larger pool of customers, like retail investors. However, just last month, Singapore's central bank issued guidelines over promoting cryptocurrencies, saying the general public should not be encouraged to invest in them. Still, a tension between what's good for the goose might not be good for the gander. Well, we shall see. You can find those stories and a whole lot more at forecast.news. Over to the markets now. When it comes to tech stocks, could Bitcoin rule them all? Well, according to data from Finbold, it's looking that way. Bitcoin has outperformed the top 6 tech stocks over the last 30 days by an average return on investment of over 15%. So does that throw cold water on the thinking that there's a growing correlation between the price of Bitcoin and the leading tech stocks? Forecast's Lachlan Keller reports.
With institutional investors moving into the space, it had appeared as though Bitcoin's price was becoming more correlated to traditional markets. However, recent moves suggest that tech stock prices may not be that closely linked. As the US inflation rate reached a 40-year high of 7.5%, tech stocks wobbled, with investors concerned about the outlook for growth as Fed rate hikes loom. Meanwhile, Meta shares sank 25% in one day earlier this month after it revealed its first ever quarterly decline in daily user numbers, with one expert telling Forecast that raised questions over the business's long-term viability, especially in terms of advertising revenue. Andrew Sullivan says that in comparison to tech stocks, the underlying factors for Bitcoin have not changed, and that its price pullback at the end of January actually put it more on people's radar.
Whenever you sell something off, these guys are going to be looking to put their money back into something else. We saw some of that money obviously going into treasuries, but I'm sure a lot of that money was looking for other alternatives, and Bitcoin would probably been attractive at that stage.
Going forward, Sullivan says it's keeping watch on what happens when the Fed makes its first move.
It would be interesting then to see how Bitcoin and some of the other cryptocurrencies react, because it'll be the first time we've really seen them react to rising interest rates, because it's not a phenomenon we've known whilst Bitcoin's been around.
However, Sullivan says with more institutional money getting involved, Bitcoin's price volatility will dampen longer term. For Forecast, I'm Lachlan Keller.
DAOs are all the rage these days, the decentralized autonomous organizations that are managed using smart contracts rather than a traditional hierarchical structure. And that means you join when you buy the tokens, and you get to say what you want and how decisions are made. But where are they headed next? Kelvin Lam, CEO of Lithium Finance, is here with the DeFi download. Good to see you, Kelvin.
Always a pleasure, Angie.
Okay, DAOs, are you part of it? DAOs are being used to raise money, and it's just an incredible thing to see. And since they run on code, its members can directly participate in their governance. Why do you think this resonates with the marketplace? This is really, really picking up steam.
They're basically companies or organizations running on the blockchain. The difference is that they're not governed by company articles or bylaws, but smart contracts and computer codes, like you said. In a company, shareholders would come together in general meetings, would vote on major decisions, right? But the day-to-day management, a lot of things are delegated to the board of directors and management. So sometimes these decisions may not always be transmitted and executed correctly, and that creates agency problems. With a DAO, the entire chain of intermediaries, board, managers, and everyone could effectively be eliminated. The members will be managing the organization directly, leaving the execution to the smart contracts and the codes. That gives you full transparency in a decentralized world, and hopefully eliminating all the agency problems. So that could be incredibly empowering when a DAO is implemented in an efficient way for the right use cases.
We've seen DAOs that raised money to bolster Julian Assange's legal defense, another that came together to bid for a rare copy of the US Constitution. It's almost like going in with an investing syndicate with your Facebook group. What are the pros and cons here?
I think of those examples are very similar to how people would incorporate entities in the real world to undertake investments or engage in lobbying. And in fact, since the intention of joint stock companies, people have been using these platforms for all sorts of economic and other interests. And just last year, the state of Wyoming passed a law to legally recognize DAO could be a separate legal entity for whatever purposes. And in the legislation, the state thinks of a DAO just like any other LLC or business entity, but that they use smart contracts to manage and operate themselves. So I think it's really a natural development that these DAOs are bring people and economic power together.
Those are the pros, but there are also cons. Increasingly, we're seeing voter apathy, and the recent Constitution DAO's failed bid to buy the original US Constitution also highlighted the problem of what to do with the funds and how to actually return them to the members when the original reason for the DAO failed. What are your thoughts here?
The smart contract was set up in such a way that the members of the DAO, of the Constitution DAO, will be able to surrender the tokens and to obtain refund in situations like this. And it's actually what's been happening. Their members are being offered the choice of getting a refund, net of the gas for transaction fee, of course, or retaining the token in the DAO. And for those who prefer to stay with the organization, these staying members will vote and decide what the DAO is going to do with the funds. So in that respect, I think the Constitution DAO has been a successful implementation. I feel that the real problem perhaps is with the gas or transaction fees involved, which could be at this time disproportionately or prohibitively high especially for members who contributed a smaller amount but looking to obtain a refund.
Lots to consider as we move into this brave new world of DeFi and DAOs and all the rest. That is the DeFi download for you this week. Kelvin, thanks so much for this. And that's the Daily Forecast from our vantage point right here in Asia. And guess what we're trying to do this year in 2022? We are growing our audience and we absolutely appreciate it. If you subscribe, if you haven't already, hit like, hit subscribe, hit that alert button. Fresh content Monday to Friday. Visit forecast.news. I'm Forecast Editor-in-Chief Angie Lau. Until the next time.